Oil and natural gas in the Middle East are expected to run out in the next few decades. At some point, many countries in the region might be forced to build nuclear power facilities in order to save their economies. That is, however, unlikely to happen before major global powers make sure that Western Asian nations do not control nuclear technologies and cannot get involved in enriching or mining uranium. I'm your host Kasim, and thanks for joining me for another KJ vid. In this video we will discuss if the Middle East is going nuclear. Russia. I'd also like to take this opportunity to encourage you to visit our website kjvids.co.uk and sign up to our subscription plan, which will give you unlimited access to our content and the full transcripts of all of our video reports and a lot more analysis. According to the US Energy Information Administration, fossil fuels accounted for 97% of electricity production in the Middle East in 2017, with natural gas accounting for about 66% of electricity generation and oil for 31%. The remaining 3% of electricity generation in the region comes from nuclear, hydroelectricity and other renewable sources. Globally speaking, besides oil, other major sources of electricity are coal and hydropower. A huge problem for the Middle East is the fact that it lacks coal deposits and other parts of the region cannot use hydropower. Currently, countries like Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Turkey, Jordan and Saudi Arabia are already developing nuclear power programs as they are preparing for a post-oil future. The United Arab Emirates is reportedly constructing the 4-unit Barak nuclear power plant, which is expected to be completed by the end of 2020. Jordan also plans to build nuclear plants and has been conducting nuclear feasibility studies with Russia's Rosatom since 2016. In early 2017, Jordan solicited bids for supplying turbines and electrical systems, and construction is expected to be completed by 2024. Turkey could soon become the next country to have a nuclear power plant. Construction is underway at Akuyu, where Russia is building 4 pressurized water reactors at a cost of over $20 billion. Ankara is reportedly in talks to build reactors at 2 other sites, Sinop and Egnida. Saudi Arabia, whose oil is expected to run out in about 70 years, plans to enter 16 nuclear reactors into service by 2040. It is believed that this project, worth more than $80 billion, should provide 15% of the country's power requirements. It is worth mentioning that the US firms have been courting the Riyadh government for the contracts to build the nuclear plants and supply the technology, often with the strong support of the White House. However, there are rumours that Saudi Arabia has an understanding with Pakistan to supply nuclear weapons, and some fear that Riyadh might want to develop its own atomic bombs. According to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bombs, but without doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, Riyadh would follow suit as soon as possible. Iran's nuclear power plant at Bushehr, the first of its kind in the Middle East, began producing electricity in 2011. Tehran has plans or proposals for additional 11 reactors, according to the World Nuclear Association. Since the Bushehr reactor began operating, Iran has relied on importing enriched uranium fuel from Russia. The Islamic Republic already possesses some uranium deposits and has recently discovered new ones within its territory, which means that having enrichment facilities would make Iran self-sufficient. However, it is unlikely that the United States will allow this to happen. Washington will do its best to keep Iran part of the global energy exploitation system, and at the same time the US, along with Israel, will try to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons by all means. In 2015, after years of tension over Iran's alleged efforts to develop a nuclear weapon program, Tehran agreed to a long-term deal with a group of world powers known as the P5+1, which include the United States, United Kingdom, France, China, Russia and Germany. The agreement also saw Iran redesigning a facility near the town of Arak so that it would not produce weapons-grade plutonium or send any spent fuel out of the country. Even if Iran and other countries in the Middle East eventually start producing nuclear energy, they will face numerous problems, and spent fuel is just one of them. At this point, it is highly uncertain how the Gulf countries would transport highly radioactive spent fuel. The Strait of Hormuz, which would be the easiest route, is problematic due to terrorist attacks. Construction of a regional nuclear waste repository is also risky due to conflicts and potential attacks. The region has a history of attacks targeting nuclear facilities. Nuclear installations proved to be attractive military targets. Israel attacked Iraq's Osirak research reactor in 1981, and more recently a suspected undeclared Syrian nuclear reactor in 2007. The United States bombed several Iraqi nuclear installations during the 1990s. During the 1980 to 1988 war with Iran, Iraq attacked Iran's Bushehr reactor several times when it was under construction. Iranian nuclear facilities also came under at least 2 highly damaging cyber attacks in 2010 and 2011. In the turbulent Middle East, nuclear reactors are considered as potential targets, and spent fuel pools may also be identified as targets during armed conflicts. Even though there have been no cases of terrorist attacks on operational nuclear reactors, such a possibility should not be dismissed. Besides armed conflicts and potential terrorist attacks, what prevents Middle East countries from developing nuclear power plants is the weather, especially heat waves. According to Ali Ahmed, the director of the Energy Policy and Security Program in the Islam Fairs Institute for Public Policy and International Affairs at the American University of Beirut, heat waves are particularly concerning due to their impact on the temperature of the reactor's cooling water. Heat waves could reduce nuclear power plant efficiency and increase the number of shutdowns. Another problem is the ground itself. Iran's nuclear power plant at Bushehr sits in an especially active seismic region and has been rocked by major quakes both prior to and since going critical. A major accident at Bushehr could potentially affect Arab population centres across the Gulf. Finally, at this point, it is impossible to imagine that Western Asian countries could build or run nuclear power plants on their own. With the exception of Turkey, Iran and Egypt to a certain degree, all other nations in this part of the world are heavily dependent on skilled and qualified foreign workforce. Even in the post-oil world, Middle East countries will likely stay dependent on major foreign actors. In a new configuration of global power, Russia and China will likely be assigned to build nuclear reactors all over the Middle East. Moscow and Beijing are expected to dominate nuclear business, at least in this part of the world, although Western corporations might be included as well. Since the Kremlin proved itself to be an unreliable energy supplier on multiple occasions and also an unreliable ally, especially to Iran, in the post-oil world, Middle East countries will unlikely manage to break the chains of neo-colonialism. Instead of dealing with Great Britain and the United States, Western Asian countries might have to cope with Russian and Chinese leaders over the nuclear policy. Since energy is heavily linked with politics, it is almost impossible to view nuclear plants in the Middle East as safe, secure, peaceful, and environmentally sustainable sources of energy. That's all for today guys, thanks for watching another KJ vid. I hope you enjoyed this video and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please don't forget to visit our website kjvids.co.uk and subscribe to one of our subscription plans, which will give you unlimited access to all of our content. Thanks for watching again and see you next time.